Welcome to the Luxe Leap, where bold women turn ambition into action. I'm your host, Reland Logan, and together we will explore the big moves, smart strategies, and the extraordinary branding behind unstoppable businesses. So I have a question. What if entrepreneurship wasn't just about income, but about liberation? Carissa Begonia is a business consultant, LinkedIn strategist, and the powerhouse founder of Conscious Exchange, an equity-centered consulting company and community designed to help BIPOC and women entrepreneurs build businesses that create work, time, location, and financial freedom. As a top LinkedIn voice and former head of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Zappos, Carissa brings over 15 years of corporate leadership experience to her mission, helping historically marginalized professionals not just get a seat at the table, but build the table, own the table, and decide who gets in the room. Through her signature framework, the 5 currencies of power, visibility, authority, access, influence, and income, Carissa teaches thought leaders how to turn their lived experience into a personal brand that attracts aligned clients, corporate contracts, and high-impact speaking engagements. Woo! She's a powerhouse, y'all. Featured in Time Magazine and on stages at Eventbrite, KPMG, and Kapoor Capital, Carissa is a connector and a catalyst for change, guiding women and BIPOC and entrepreneurs from expertise to influence, from visibility to legacy. Please welcome the one-woman movement behind Conscious Exchange and my friend, Carissa Begonia. How are you, friend?
Good. How are you doing, Rylan? So good to be here. Woo!
Oh, I'm
cozy
so
sweaters on. It's cozy sweater time, huh?
It is cozy sweater time. I read all that. I'm like, oh, I have really cool friends. I should celebrate that more often. And I'm really amped about the things that you can share here today. And what everybody doesn't know that I'm now going to rip the Band-Aid off. Y'all, when me and Carissa get together, we talk so much that we were on this call for an hour before we realized we had to start recording. So get ready for some serious gems and probably maybe a dialed up version of what we were talking about earlier, but this is definitely one you're going to listen to till the end because she is that incredible. So, Carissa, as we are trying to figure out how my computer works, because you know me, I need 100 screens to function as a human being. Why don't you start with what inspired your Luxe Leap, that bold move that started your journey from ordinary to extraordinary?
Ooh, what is how many Luxe Leaps can I talk about? Because this is a journey, going from corporate to entrepreneurship. I want to say, a lot of people are interested in that first leap that was made when I was the head of DI, right? And what I tell people, in terms of folks who are transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship, is for me, there was no plan B. I just knew that it was time, right? And I think there's sometimes moments in your life when you don't have another alternative. There's not another answer. It just is this, and that can seem scary, but when you are really in tune with what is going on, with that spirit, with your body, your own energy, it actually isn't scary. It's the safest. It's the only option. And so I feel I look at things when I'm making my leap. It's, Luxe Leap sounds so grand, right? It's oh, it's this luxurious thing. And then it's leap, you just think it's big, right? And sometimes that can kind of bring up feelings of fear and nervousness. But again, everything for me, whenever I'm in those moments and I actually trust that, it's actually easeful, right? Because again, it's the only one. And so it's the only choice. It's the one that makes complete sense. And what you were kind of even saying about me earlier, it's for both of us, why we can talk for hours is we're just logical and generous. And we just have all these and visionaries, right? And we have proven to ourselves, we can make it work. One of my friends jokes around with me all the time. She's like, Carissa, when you're introducing a new idea to me, it means it's already been in motion for 3 months. It's
always,
new idea
forever.
Yeah. And so I laugh because I am known as someone who fails forward fast, right? Just go, test it, try it, but because then that's when you'll really know. And so I have a big risk tolerance, right? And I just believe why not just try it, make it happen, see what happens, and then look at the data and figure it out. But I think that was one of my Luxe Leaps, was making the decision to actually become an entrepreneur, because I was I can do this better. And if you know, as a consultant, right, corporate consultant, you get respected and paid better when you're outside of the company than when you're in it. And so I'm like, I can have more freedom of how I want to shape things by being consultant, and also where I want to spend my time, where I want to spend, where I want to live. At the time when I left in 2018, it was pre-pandemic, right? So it wasn't the time when everyone was working remotely.
Hmm.
It was still like some people could, right? And that was a big desire of mine. I wanted to have the freedom to move around. I was traveling a lot when I lived in Vegas, because that's where Zappos is headquartered. And I'm like, I was always like visiting different places, and I'm like, I want more of this freedom. So when that was like kind of a bigger goal, and I was also I've been in Zappos and in Vegas for 5 years. That is the longest time I've spent in any company, right? And I was like, it's time for me to go, right? So it's just a few different kind of inputs where like, it's time. And I've also in those roles have always been entrepreneurial, right? And when I was in corporate, I was always given like, here's some money, go figure this out, right? And build this department or build this brand or in the companies, right? And so I was like, I know how to do it with other people's money. I know how to at least build the operations, the infrastructure, the information we need. What if I actually bet on myself? Like, what if I did that for myself, right? And I was like, I'm ready to do it. Let's try. So I think that was one of my biggest luck sleeps, if you will. And then I think the second one will be like inside my business, going from even like um, maybe really the decision to go all in on LinkedIn. So I became a LinkedIn top voice in 2023. And the story of this is funny to me because I hate social media. Like I didn't have an Instagram account before I started my business. I am like, I don't want to do dances. I opened TikTok and I quickly shut it down because it like got me overwhelmed. Like I was just like, this is too overstimulating for me. But I decided that I really wanted to go all in on LinkedIn because for a few reasons. One, I knew that my people were here, right? Like, okay, like I come from corporate. I know like this, like serious players are here. Um, Two, there were very few creators, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't seeing like the other like social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook where people were creating content yet. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go like try. I know as a online business, I do need to do some digital marketing. I'm not, silly like and to think I can get away with all that, but I had to be intentional about it. And so that was another reason. And then three, like, you're talking to real people on LinkedIn, right? Like, whereas the other
Hmm.
platforms, it could be your avatar, right? Like, I don't really know if you're even a bot. Like, I have no idea. But most people, the majority of the people who are on LinkedIn, it is attached to your job. It's a real human profile, right? And
Yeah.
so that at least felt safe because I've been attacked, unfortunately, as someone who does work in the diversity and inclusion space. People do come for you, right? And I was like, okay, people are unhinged on these other platforms, but they have a little more decorum on LinkedIn because they don't want to lose their jobs. And I can go directly to find out where you work here if you want to come for me.
And where you work, who your boss is.
All the things, right? Directly DM them and screenshot your junk, right? Like, but the good thing I found when I decided to really make that my platform and share my voice and share my thoughts on there was because really I really started using the platform in 2020. And if you all remember, like the 2020 time period was unfortunately George Floyd's murder. So a lot of DEI consultants were being pulled at that time. Everyone, all of a sudden, all the companies were like, we now care about DEI, right? So there was a big influx of us kind of being in demand. And then it was also like a rise of anti-Asian hate because of scapegoating for the pandemic. A lot of Asians were being blamed, right? And so I'm out here on LinkedIn using it for my business, and then also started using it, frankly, as like an online kind of
Diary.
diary, a little bit, like just voicing my opinions about what's going on, both as an DI consultant, as a woman of color, as an Asian woman, a Filipino woman. And it was even in the DI space, people were like, wait, Asians, we don't have a lot of Asians talk about this. Right. So I was someone who was just coming out and sharing like this is we are also racialized, right? We are also people who experience racism and discrimination. And here I was just telling my own stories. And like
Yeah.
as much as you can say, because people sometimes fear going onto platforms and say that, they're afraid or people are going to come for them. right?
Yeah.
I want to say that 95% of my experience on LinkedIn has been lovely. It's been people who are more saying like, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for voicing that, for sharing that opinion or that experience, because I have the same feelings, the same stories. And I didn't think anyone cared, or I didn't think anyone else experienced that. Right. And so that's what I really have found for myself. Like, be sharing all that really, big leaps where I got speaking gigs at places like Calendly and Eventbrite, like I was getting paid 5-figure keynotes and, um, bringing again inbound leads for workshops and for consulting work, right? And more importantly, connections with like other amazing humans that I was meeting who similar identities, similar experiences, like saying thank you for giving me some encouragement now too by listening to your story to also share mine, right? And that was my favorite part about becoming really visible. I'm not a shy person, so that was never really a thing for me to like hide, right? But I also had this like, do people care what I have to say? Like, I didn't think so. And 100% yes. So that was a big leap for me. And then eventually, again, that turned into like, again, LinkedIn Top Voice, things like that. And I'll say that's the big thing I want people also to own for themselves, because people are paying attention. They're looking for what I call the
Yeah.
first onlys, the others, to show up like, so that almost, not that we all need permission, but sometimes it's nice. That's why representation matters, right? That when you can see it, you might be able to have more courage to also be it yourself.
And show up fully. So I love that you brought up that time when George Floyd was murdered. It was around the time that I met Kimfer, our friend,
Mm-hmm.
and I on LinkedIn, I actually had somebody ask me at that moment, how do you market to Black people? That was something that I got a lot of in that time frame. Still trying to figure that one out, but you know what? I'm not here to figure it out. My business had started literally the month prior, and it did kickstart my business in such a major way. And then on the flip side, you know this, Carissa, but for anybody who doesn't know, my son is also half Asian. And so going to the grocery store was a scary experience sometimes, because people would just look at my little kid like he is, I don't know, spraying COVID all over everything. Like, not even a possibility, but he wasn't even 4 yet. He was turning 4 later that year. And I remember his family, they were just afraid to go out. So I would go do the grocery shopping and those things for fear of their safety. And it was definitely a time, and in a way, am I grateful that like me and you got to have our businesses kickstarted in a way that we may not have had such an influx otherwise. Yes, it brought us to each other, but at the same time, it doesn't always feel good to know that like we won off of the murder of another human being
Yeah.
and off of a national pandemic because people are awful. And so uh, I will always say on record that 2020 was one of the best years of my life and also one of the worst years of my life.
Yeah.
It's a moment. But speaking of moments, what was the moment you realized your brand had momentum and like people got it?
I I think it was then, because that was like the first my coming out of, because it wasn't that I was necessarily trying to do it for likes or anything, right? Like I was
Yeah.
really just sharing again an online diary. Like, this is what my reality is. Unfortunately, so the safety you talk about with your son, like that is real, because in the
Yes.
same time period, I was living in LA, and I was physically attacked. So I've been verbally attacked before, like, and called the things, called the
All
names,
the
but like
names.
I physically, someone approached me, swung his bag and like tried to hit me with it, and had while swearing like racial slurs, and I was terrified. Right?
Yeah.
I fought him. Like, I fought him. Good thing he ran away. But I locked myself in my apartment for a week because I lived by myself and I was terrified. Right?
Yeah.
And so like when you like those are sharing those experiences, and that's harder traumatic ones. But one of the big reasons I decided to do the work I do, right, and support people, especially support women and women of color, even more specifically, is because we don't have enough spaces where we can talk about this, or where
No.
it's understood that just sometimes by walking down the street you're a threat, right? Or something can happen, like, because that was happening, especially around the 2020 period for me. But I remember hearing my friends say like, my daughter is on the school bus and being picked on for being Asian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we might have had some of that as growing up for us, right? But now that they're getting bullied and it's still happening, and we are maybe not healed as the parents to help our children because
Yeah.
we push that trauma away, right? Then how are we going to help our kids now get through this? And so
Oh,
for me, I created a program for specifically targeted to Asian Americans to really help unpack some of that, like like our own histories, our own life experiences, and also own our again claim our leadership, right? Claim like be feel powerful, right? And that program got featured in Lifetime magazine, also,
nice.
right? And so, when we're talking about like coming out or like showing up and when you get recognized, for me, it was nothing I was aspiring to, right? It was solving a problem and knowing that I was equipped and I could solve that problem. And here's how, and I'm going to actually take the initiative to do it, right? And so when you, I think, are in your zone of genius, when you are really bringing your gifts to the world, and when you are generous and showing and helping others, and that is the way you approach things, opportunities, the recognition, all of that comes. And so I don't know. That's me. I'm not looking for the likes, right?
You're like,
um,
I'm solving problems, y'all. We're solving problems.
be good at your craft, own your shit, right? And you will get
And like
for it.
it will come. And it's sometimes that's hard to hear. And I get it for those who are like, but I'm doing all the things. And my question to folks when they tell me, but I'm doing all the things is, are you duplicating something that somebody already else did? Or is it originally yours like it was originally Carissa's? Because that is where a lot of momentum comes. And yes, to a certain extent, you have to duplicate to start. I will say that because you have to learn what you like and don't like. And once you start to see that start to happen, you can fail forward faster and it can become your own because then you start to take pieces that you love and discard all the rest and find the gap where you're like, I'm better than you at this thing. And it's okay to own that. I think sometimes we try to humble ourselves, especially as women, to be like, oh, I don't want anybody to know that I'm the best at that. I have no problem looking anybody in the eye and saying, no, I am the best and I am better than them at that. Full stop. I probably was like some dude who in the past who was like, do you know who my father is? It's fine. I carried that energy with me. So when you think of that as a unique energy and quite an odd one for me to use as a descriptor, how would you describe the unique energy or essence of your brand in one sentence?
Vibrant.
Ooh, vibrant. I like how she just goes straight for one word. Like she has no idea what's coming later, y'all, but she just said vibrant. So we're going to hold on to that. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, she has on a bright pink sweater and a gorgeous chunky necklace. Um, to my like the world of neutrals, I look like a pottery barn come to life. So,
Well,
and at this moment, go for it.
yeah. I mean, I say that because vibrancy is. I am a colorful person. If even since I was a kid, you look at the photos of me as a child, like I have mixed prints, colors, like all the rainbow, like it's all happening. So yes, if you're able to see what I am wearing today, it is hot pink and turquoise blue, right, and gold, right. So and partly that's an intentional thing from it's my culture. Like we're like I'm Filipina, second generation Filipina, and we're culturally like vibrant and a beautiful people, beautiful country. And because I work with a lot of communities of color, I'm like, we all have, look at all our clothing, right? Look at our foods, look at like our homes and such, like, and part of, to me, Western culture wants to suppress that and make it look Pottery Barn, right? And meanwhile, like, this is what I've grown up to be and to know. And so I'm not changing my brand to be palatable for you all.
Thank
And
you.
because I'm like, to me, I actually told my branding people, I was like, I don't want cursive. I don't want pink. Like, well, at least it's hot pink. Like, I don't want pastels. And I don't want photos like this with my like hand randomly
Yeah.
like brushing my hair. Like, what are we doing? Like, why is that it's a pose? Look at it. Look at the coach, a bunch of coaches.
I know exactly. I saw
What
like
is
at least
that?
5 websites that look like that in my head. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'm like
It's a vibe.
screaming, have my mouth open, laughing, like belly laughing. Like that is who my person, what my personality is. And I joke around that I think in another past life or another life, like I was a comedian, you know, because I'm sarcastic. I love joking around with people, um, as much as I am being serious or I'm super political or about things, right? But that's the big thing I want to showcase is like I've never been black and white. Like I've
Yeah.
always, and you know what I think about patterns and I think about colors and stuff. Like it's the layeredness of humans. It's the complexity of like of us. So it means more than just it's bright and loud, which is part of my personality. And what I am signaling is this is power too, right?
Yes.
Whether it's a quiet power, a loud power, right? But like I'm not hiding, right? I want you to see me. I don't need to be the loudest or screaming in the room, but right, but I'm here to be known and seen.
I love that about you. As I joke about looking like Pottery Barn right now, y'all, many people know me for a beautiful palette of neutrals with like a pop of hot pink, like Dior shoes. I have a problem. I'm sticking to it. So, or hot pink lipstick. I'm known for all the lipstick colors in the world, but I do agree, like how you show up, regardless if you're somebody who loves pastel pink and creams and gold accents, we see you. Stop duplicating everybody else's brand. But I say all that to say how what you wear does matter and how you show up does matter. Um, and it makes you feel better when you show up in the room. Now, if Carissa, you're gonna love this. This is completely off topic, but
Okay.
it just reminded me of this conversation. Yes, Raylan is Pottery Barn, like come to life. I recognize that about myself. But I did a keynote the other day and I have this gorgeous cream blazer, but I love things that sparkle.
Mm.
And I did not care that it was a casual keynote. I straight up wore a strapless, all champagne sequence ball gown
Yeah.
because why not?
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, no, like this is how I'm showing up. So there's so much power in just owning how you show up. And like Carissa is bright, she's loud, she's epic. And I'm quiet until you know me. And then I'm just not like that sparkly dress. Um, so when you think about visibility beyond clothing, what has been the hardest part and what finally worked? You kind of touched on it, but let's dive deeper.
I will say honestly, consistency because I'm not shy, right? I very much tell and coach my people to wear something different. Don't be the person in black. So wear the
Ooh.
sparkles, right? Don't be just the navy or black suit in the sea of all of that at a conference. Like when I walk in, people do notice me, and that's intentional because I tend to wear something bright, right, on brand. But I also tell other people, like, again, you too don't feel weird about that because you do want people to know. So why are you here otherwise? Right? Like you're networking, right? Like you're trying to meet people, be seen, you know, be known. But what some of the hardest thing I think has been is again, like why I joke around about being a top voice on LinkedIn is that I'm glad that I became that not because I was constantly churning things out, because I was just being my authentic self, that I was sharing
Yeah.
stories and I was sharing like, perspectives that maybe weren't often seen or heard from someone who looks like me. And I want to say that sometimes there's an expectation that you have to show up now as a creator, right? And you know, as a business owner, like if you're not posting every day or multiple times a day on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, like even on LinkedIn, like you know, you're gonna become irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, I wish I could say that there's a little element of that. Yeah, if you're not doing something consistently or often enough, you do fall away, right? I took
Yeah.
some time off, like of like posting and this and that because I just didn't want to anymore. And has that impacted business? A little bit, yeah. But that's where like you know you can't rely on visibility alone, right? You
Yeah.
really do have to move into connecting beyond the posts, beyond the content you're creating. And so that's has is what has been my alternative, and what has saved me, I think, kept me in my business is that I have the relationships though. I have genuine, authentic relationships with people from all that visibility push that I had, right? And just maintaining that. But I will say, like the constant content creation, I'm the same. Like with as many others, like it's hard for me to continuously feel like I have to put something out. I have no shortage of things to say, but like having to convert it into a piece of content, like I just maybe have not fully embraced that even with in the age of AI when it's as easy as ever to do, right? But now you gotta look, can't be all the same as everyone, right?
It's
So I don't
it
always
takes a
want to
lot
have
of work to
that.
make it intentional, right?
Yeah.
like intentional and consistent.
Yeah.
Because let's be real here. We've all seen some really, really horrible posts go viral, even on LinkedIn, that are awfully written.
Or just some meme that's being thrown out, right? Like that's not rich. That's not in like that's intentional for likes and views. That's not intentional for thought. And I care more about what people think and that people are critically thinking. And is that as popular? No, but I don't need him. Like I always tell people, do you really need 1 million followers, or do
No.
you need a solid 4 people who are paying attention, right?
You need a solid, I know everybody tells you 100. I would say you need a solid core 250 if you want people buying.
Yeah.
But only if we're like using like the rule of thirds. That's just a little under 100 of people who are truly like purchasing in that moment. And if you have that, you're fine.
Yeah. So let's not overwhelm ourselves and try to be like, I think there's extremes, right? It's like I feel like, well, if I can't get 1 million, then I won't do it at all. No, right? If I can't pay to post daily, what's the point? I'm like, no, that's not it. And again, I'm preaching to the choir for myself, right? Like, or taking my own like advice, right? And so it's the reality. It's real, right? To get burned out by your business, to get
Yeah.
burned out by content creation and like the online marketing machine. And what I am leaning mostly into these days is like really cultivating community, finding
Yeah.
the spaces where my people are. And like I said at the top of our conversation, it's like really understanding and paying attention to how your body and what your intuition is telling you, because that's not wrong, right?
Yeah.
And it's better. It's more for us to learn how to trust that, and trust things will be okay. And so it's even a niche for me, right? Where I'm like, no, we don't have to do what we were doing before, right? We're also in different times, right? Like
We are.
2020 was an interesting time, as is 2025. And so, but what I am doubling down on is community is the way.
Community is the way. I think we're also seeing it through like mutual friends that we were talking about earlier today. But I think that as we look forward, that world of like you can throw up ads and it's going to be okay. Like we're going to lean more towards a nature of community affiliate marketing through your community and leaning in those spaces to grow. So visibility takes on a different meaning. Pia, one of my coaches and friends, she actually was just talking about this. She was saying, like, yes, you still have to create content to a certain degree, but you're creating content because whoever's referring you, that person is going to go look at your content to back whatever that introduction said, not to get eyeballs anymore, but to reaffirm that you are as awesome as somebody in your community said you are. And so to what you're working on as far as like thought leadership and building that, like it's going to be more important to have real tangible thoughts that you can claim than to have a regurgitation of everything else that we're seeing in the world. And heaven help me, if bro marketing is not dead by 2030, I'm going to lose it. And every 5 years has been something. I like think about like, the millennium came through. It was a time. 2005, honestly, what was happening in 2000? We were still doing Iraq and Afghanistan, and that wasn't very fun for my family. 2010, I personally went through major changes. And then, like every 5 years, I'm telling y'all, we're experiencing life. We'll just leave it at the word life. But knowing that we always go through this constant change, the world, what worked yesterday may not work today. How do you define success for your brand today? And how has that evolved since you began? Because that's a great transition. I did not plan that.
Yeah. How do I? Okay, one more time. How do
How
I
do you define success today?
define success today?
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, actually, seasons of change. Defining success today is I'm in a season of also going through perimenopause. And I'm like, who is this? Like, what is happening to my body? And like, why can't I sleep now? Because I used to have no problems with that. I like things are just shifting, right? And then it feels a little like unrecognizable. The whole thing like they talk about with brain fog. I'm like, I feel like I'm also forgetting things. I'm like, what? So I'm now experiencing, I think, what a lot of some of the women are talking about, like especially our some of the generation Gen X before us, right? Like, is I'm feeling that, and I'm like, I have to center my health. And I was really proud of myself when I talked to one of my business partners, and I was like, listen, I need us to figure out how to make this system and our program together more useful. We were in startup mode with the Thought Leadership Collective this year, with my business partner Jen Kim, and I was like, we just came out of our 2026 strat planning sesh, and I'm like, I have to center this, like, because
Yeah.
I'm no good if this vessel isn't taken care of, like, I'm no good to anybody, right? And I can't just power through things like I used to in my 20s and my 30s. And so she thankfully is like, I get it, right? And so we had a great conversation, like, how do we use some of the technology out there to not replace our ideas and our thought leadership? Absolutely not, right? We have to still be the thinkers and the inputs to these machines,
Yes.
right? But yes, how do we take care of ourselves and like make our systems better so that we do center our health. And I told my friend the other day that, like, who's a health coach, right? And I'm like, for the first time, and we've been friends for decades, and I'm like, for the first time, I'm actually making this a priority, because I would always be like, put my business first, and look what there's that sent me to the hospital
Yeah.
twice, right? Again, I can't do it. My eyes start shutting down, at a certain time. Um, I'll blame perimenopause for now. I'm just, getting a little older. And so I'm really proud to say that, like, I have boundaries about myself, right? And with
Yeah.
people around me to, like, what I have the capacity to do these days. And it's just now with those limitations, just making smarter and intentional decisions and moves, right? So it doesn't mean everything falls apart, right? It actually is stronger because we're not giving ourselves all this, like, what ifs. Like, you have to be smarter and intentional about what you choose to do.
I I love that. And like, choosing what actually moves the needle because it forces you not to pick everything when you have to center your health. And, I have not experienced perimenopause yet. I do have endometriosis, so I really understand what it means to like have to take a breather at least once a month. Me and Hope, one of the episodes prior to yours, we literally talked about what it feels like to have to live on your bathroom floor for a couple days. It's really disgusting. You can trust we have the cleanest bathrooms. So, um, but when you're put in those types of positions, that does help you to find success a little bit more than just the dollars. And don't get us wrong, y'all. Before we got on this call, we literally said how much we love money. So we do love it.
Yep.
Okay. But it means that we can afford to take rest to a certain degree too.
Yeah.
Um, Not super imperative, especially as you get older, but also if you're younger and you have kids. Like, trust me, I enjoy volunteering in school all the time. So that is beautiful, Carissa, that like your definition of success is more around your health and being the best version of you, because how else can you serve the community that you're looking to grow? Um, if someone was listening, well, somebody is listening to this. I raised that
Oh,
question.
right.
There's many someone's listening, but if they're standing on the edge of their own Lux Leap, what advice would you give them?
Maybe a couple things. One, trust that instinct, trust that intuition, right? Like, if it feels like there is no plan B, this is the one, then don't second guess yourself. It's when we second guess ourselves, I think, that we regret it. And we're like, I knew it, right? So trust your gut. Two, maybe just be prepared that there could be, it's probably not, maybe it isn't as beautiful as you think it's going to be. And when you land, right? Like, but you won't know unless you try, right? So, like, be prepared to and have some flexibility in, like, taking that leap, right? And then three, have people around you that actually have you, right? Because as with entrepreneurship especially, right, it's up and down. Things, you can have amazing years, tough years, and I don't think it's actually going to get better. Like, every time, every new leap that you make, and it's just another thing to you face, right? But it's fun and rewarding, and I think it's even better when you are doing it with other people who are on the same journey with you, and who are also who get it, but also have your back too, right? That
Yeah.
they are your soft place to land when you're like, or like they are your rally team and your, like, biggest champions and celebrators. When, if you're like me, you forget to celebrate because you're just moving on to the next thing, right? So that trifecta of like trusting yourself, be willing to take like to make that move and just try, like learn by doing, and then having people that have you is, I think, the most important things to have.
That is incredible and such good insight for everybody. Everybody, I hope you rewind this, grab a notebook, and write it down. Okay, it's important. So, what's next for you, friend? Or what's the next bold move that you're making?
Like I said, I am double downing on community with my work. And so, kind of what when people have been telling me is like, Carissa, I don't know how to make that connection to like, get in front of people. And, so I'm starting to develop some content or like work around how to teach people how to tackle the networking outreach and sales, oh my, right? Like, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, networking outreach and sales, oh my. But it's fun. Like, how can you imagine that, like, when you go to the next networking event or you go to a conference or even Zoom, right, that you kind of know how to really look for values aligned people, and that's how this becomes fun and comfortable, right? So I'm starting to learn how to like create some work to teach that to folks, because that's fun for me, and what I've been told is actually pretty natural for me to do, probably like you, same with you, Maryland, right? And then the ways like the communities are kind of evolving is I have two communities. One is the Thought Leadership Collective, and that is really centered around authors and aspiring authors. And what we help people do is build a book, a brand, and a business that gets them paid to speak and write, and really become known as the go-to authority in their space. So really centering thought leadership, authorship, and thinking, like, in this age of business and AI slob. And then on the other side, I have a group specifically for women of color, a community for women of color, because I'm finding that it's rare to find, like, to be really supported by successful women of color. So I've had this group for about a year, and I'm really double downing on that too, and making sure that we people who look like me feel like the experiences, there's a baseline of experiences that we just understand, and that we can grow together. And I have a mission to help 100 women of color business owners become millionaire business owners.
That obviously I love it. And it's so hard to pretend like we didn't have a conversation before this, which I don't even know why I would pretend. I'm not that kind of human. But it is just like imagining being able to be in a room with 100 of us. And by room, I really mean beach
Yes.
somewhere, everybody. I don't want to be locked into another heaven help me conference room. So it is beautiful. And I know you, I know Jen Kim to the extent of the program, and I just love the doubling down on the fact that we should have our thoughts heard and what that feels like, looks like. And so I just can't wait to like be alongside you for this next rung of your journey. It's going to be epic. As you also teach me how to value my own health, because I know I will need help in that regard.
It's been a journey.
But you're like, it doesn't get any easier, Ray. But to round out this lovely show, I always ask everybody two major questions, fun questions.
Yay.
And
Okay.
that is, what does a day living a luxurious life look like for you?
Mm, I don't have kids of my own, but my niece and nephew are the best, and just being able to truly spend time with them, like on the beach, without worrying about work or thinking about work, that would be Lux for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, me and Grayson will join you.
Okay, sounds
Don't you worry. We're all island kids, amongst all of us. And in one word, what is your primary motivation in business? I told you it was coming back.
oh my gosh. My primary motivation business. Like now, I can say vibrancy for my brand, but what is my motivation? Um, I honestly, at the end of the day, equity.
Equity.
Yeah, I want
I love it.
women of color to have the power make the decisions that are going to benefit the rest of us in this world. I don't think there's enough parity there, right? So yeah, when we share power in the world, like, and just to see like the harmony that can happen from, I think, when women are in charge.
Well, let it go on record again when I say if more women had economic power, we'd live in a much different space.
Yeah. Social,
So,
economic, political power is where I'd like for us to
yeah,
really show up and be.
we deserve it. And you know what? I'm going to take it beyond deserve today. I never say this. We demand it at this point.
Yep.
So
I like it.
we're changing our choices to become millionaires. And after that million, don't worry, we'll go for a billion, because me and Carissa don't actually understand that there's a stopping point.
No, it's just milestones.
So
That's all. Just milestones.
we try to celebrate with each other, but we're really just running to the next thing with a bottle of champagne. Don't mind us. You have to have friends like that in your
all,
world, and like
all
that's
are
who we
welcome.
are.
Come with us, Yeah. Please hang out with us. It'll be fun.
Come hang out. All right, y'all. Well, if today's episode has you thinking about how you're showing up and you're ready for a brand that actually turns heads and hell makes millions, I'd love to invite you to book your Brand Muta Brand Breakthrough. It's my video deep dive brand audit that helps you see exactly what's working, what's not, and what needs to shift to attract champagne clientele. So you can grab your spot at my website /brandmuta-review. Also, let's be real, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Just click on it and start turning clarity into confidence, because let's be honest, vanilla opinions don't pop bottles. And as you can see here, the ladies who make money moves are women like myself and Carissa, who will always tell you our true opinion. So Carissa, where can they connect with you?
LinkedIn, my friends, right? Please, Carissa Begonia. It's phonetic. I'm like the only one you should be able to find for that. So I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the Luxe Leap. I'm so grateful we got to spend time with each other, and this has seriously been one of the best conversations ever. So,
thanks, Reland. This was wonderful. Thank you for the invitation.
of course. All right, y'all. Well, until next Thursday, we'll see you soon. Bye.